Welcome in. Picture this. It is Friday evening. You have just logged off work, or maybe you just walk through your front door after a really long commute.
Oh yeah, you drop your bag and just let out that heavy, end-of-the-week sigh of relief.
Exactly. You let out that sigh, and then you look around.
And the reality sets in.
Right. There is a towering pile of mail on the kitchen counter. The floors are looking suspiciously gritty in the fading light, and the laundry basket in the corner it's practically overflowing.
It's so daunting you're just staring down your home.
You really are. And you have to ask yourself a very serious question right then and there. Is the weekend meant for relaxing and recovering from a long week? Or is it meant for scrubbing baseboards and folding clothes?
It is a universal struggle. We have all stood in that exact spot.
Oh, absolutely.
The tension there is very real. You have this desire for a clean, peaceful space, but it's pulling against your desperate need for free time. For a lot of people, it feels like a zero-sum game. Like, choosing the clean house means sacrificing your rest. But choosing the rest means spending the next 48 hours feeling vaguely guilty about the mess surrounding you.
Which is exactly why we are taking this on today. For this deep dive, we have gathered a really fascinating stack of sources to finally solve this Friday night dilemma.
And we're not just looking at basic chore charts.
No, not at all. Rather than just giving you a dry list of cleaning tips, we are pulling together insights from professional cleaning services, lifestyle articles from Apartment Therapy and CBS News, and even a deeply researched academic study from the Journal of Social and Clinical Psychology.
It's a really well-rounded stack.
It is. The mission here is to skip the overwhelming information overload and uncover the ultimate science-backed cleaning strategy. We want to find the method that maximizes both a beautifully tidy space and your personal well-being, getting straight to what actually works for your specific lifestyle. Okay, let's unpack this.
Sounds good. To really understand why we dread weekend chores so much, we have to look at what the weekend actually does to our brains
Right.
on a chemical and psychological level.
Right, the biology of it.
Exactly. There's a fascinating study from the Journal of Social and Clinical Psychology source you mentioned. They investigate a phenomenon that researchers actually call the weekend effect.
The weekend effect?
Yeah, they tracked 74 working adults across a huge variety of occupations over a period of 21 days.
Okay, but how do they actually track that? I imagine if you just ask someone at the end of the month how their weekends were, their memory is going to be pretty skewed.
Oh, definitely. And that was the genius of the methodology. They didn't rely on memory at all. The researchers used electronic pagers to signal the participants.
Pagers, like old school beepers.
Yep, they'd signal them 3 times a day at random intervals. When the pager went off, the participant had to immediately stop and record their mood, their physical vitality, and what specific activity they were doing right in that exact moment.
Oh, wow. So you get a real-time snapshot.
Precisely. And the data revealed a massive, statistically significant spike in overall well-being. People reported higher positive affect, lower negative affect, and a huge surge in vitality.
That makes sense.
And officially, according to the data, this magical weekend effect begins on Friday at 5:00 p.m. and ends on Sunday afternoon.
So that looming dread that hits on Sunday evening isn't just a cultural joke. It is a literal, measurable biological drop-off.
It is entirely measurable. The researchers use something called self-determination theory to explain the why behind this spike and drop.
Okay, what does that theory say?
It suggests that human well-being relies on a few basic psychological needs. The weekend mood boost is heavily mediated by 2 of those needs in particular. The first is autonomy, which is the freedom to choose what you do and how you spend your time.
Autonomy. Got it.
And the second is relatedness, the feeling of being connected to other people. When Friday evening hits, your autonomy and relatedness just skyrocket.
Because you are finally off the clock. You aren't answering to a boss. And you can choose to hang out with your friends or your family instead of coworkers you might not actually like.
Exactly. That shift is everything. But there is also a third basic psychological need in this theory, which is competence.
Competence. Like feeling capable.
Right. The feeling of being effective and capable. And the researchers found something incredibly counterintuitive here. People's sense of competence actually drops during work hours compared to non-work hours.
Wait, really? We actually feel more capable and effective when we are off the clock than when we are literally doing our paid professions.
The data points to yes. We often feel more competent pursuing our hobbies or managing our personal lives than we do navigating workplace bureaucracy.
That is wild.
It really is. Now, if we bring this back to the Friday night dilemma, the psychology reveals a major trap.
Right, the chores.
Yes. If our weekend happiness is fueled entirely by autonomy and relatedness, the freedom to choose and connect, spending hours doing mandatory dreaded chores completely destroys that freedom.
You are dragging the lack of autonomy from your work week right into your Saturday.
Spot on.
I was actually reading the CBS News article from our stack, and they highlighted a warning that perfectly mirrors the psychology. They noted that chores will expand to fill the available space.
Oh, Parkinson's law.
Exactly.
Right.
If you tell yourself on Friday night, I'm going to clean the house this weekend, it will somehow consume your entire Saturday. You will start by wiping a counter, and 3 hours later, you are scrubbing baseboards you haven't thought about since you moved in.
It is a very common pitfall.
Mm.
If you give cleaning the whole weekend, it will take the whole weekend.
Yeah.
You end up with a frenzied, exhausting work week, followed immediately by an exhausting, chore-filled weekend. You never give your brain the chance to experience that necessary spike in well-being.
Which brings us to the big practical question. How do we escape this? If dedicating the weekend to cleaning ruins our psychological well-being, but doing nothing leaves us living in squalor, what is the middle ground?
Right, we still need clean houses.
Exactly. Our sources from Apartment Therapy and a lifestyle guide from Kazuri West seem to point to a very specific strategy. The 15-minute weekday sprint.
What's fascinating here is how Kazuri West frames the workload. They suggest a radical shift in how we view household maintenance. The recommendation is to actually do only 10% of your chores on the weekend.
10%.
Just 10%. The vast majority of your home's upkeep should be handled during the week, using what they call HM basics, or homemaking basics.
Okay, what does that look like in practice?
These are daily, non-negotiable micro habits that you just fold into your routine without much thought. Doing one single load of laundry from start to finish every day, wiping down the kitchen counters immediately after dinner, or just managing the cat's litter box.
I mean, only 10% on the weekend sounds like an absolute dream. But how is that actually possible for someone working a 40-hour week who comes home completely exhausted?
It requires abandoning the traditional way we approach cleaning. Kazuri West emphasizes something they call the anti-schedule.
The anti-schedule.
Yeah. This means you actively avoid assigning specific chores to specific days. You do not write down, I must clean the bathrooms on Tuesday and mop the floors on Wednesday.
I would think without a schedule, everything would just fall apart. Like, if I don't force myself to do it on Tuesday, I will just push it off forever.
The problem with rigid schedules is that they create rigid expectations. If you have a terrible, draining Tuesday at work and you come home to a schedule demanding you scrub 2 toilets, you're going to skip it.
Oh, 100%.
And when you skip it, you feel stressed, you feel guilty, and you feel like you have failed the whole system.
So what's the alternative?
Instead, the anti-schedule involves keeping a simple master list of your major zones: floors, kitchen, bathrooms. When you find yourself with just 15 minutes of energy during the week, you pick one item from the list and you just knock it out.
I see. You are maintaining that sense of autonomy. You are choosing what to tackle based on your energy level, rather than taking orders from a piece of paper on your fridge.
Exactly. And it takes far less time than people assume. The professional guide from CR Maids breaks down the realistic time commitment. If you live in a small 1 to 2 bedroom apartment, you really only need 1 to 3 hours of total cleaning per week to maintain it.
Wow, that's it.
That's it. If you are in a standard 3 to 4 bedroom home, you are looking at 3 to 5 hours a week.
3 hours a week broken down into daily chunks is, what, just over 20 minutes a day? That feels incredibly doable.
It is, provided you account for your specific lifestyle. CR Maids is quick to note that your living situation shifts those numbers.
How so?
Well, if you work from home, you are naturally generating more mess, simply by existing in the space for 8 extra hours a day. You need to add 30 to 60 minutes of cleaning to your weekly total.
That makes sense.
And if you have pets, you need to add 1 to 2 full hours to your weekly estimate just to deal with the fur, dander, and paw prints.
So, what does this all mean? It means taking back your weekend requires a bit of weekday strategy. You build a portable cleaning caddy so you aren't wasting 10 minutes wandering around looking for glass cleaner. You set a timer, and you keep a flexible mindset to just knock out a task or two on a random Wednesday evening.
That is the ideal, science-backed approach for protecting your well-being. But the ideal doesn't always match reality.
True. Let's look at the reality check then. What are people actually doing out there?
Despite the clear psychological benefits of pushing chores to the weekdays, the data shows we are very stubborn creatures of habit. An LG Electronics survey polled 2,000 Americans, and they found that Saturday morning remains the single most popular time to clean the house.
It is so deeply ingrained in our culture. Think about how many of us woke up on Saturday mornings as kids to the sound of a vacuum cleaner hitting the baseboards and the smell of lemon furniture polish. It was the universal signal that your morning cartoons were over and your weekend had been hijacked. What about the other end of the spectrum? What did the survey say were the most hated times to clean?
Sunday night and Monday morning, which perfectly tracks with the Journal of Social and Clinical Psychology study we discussed earlier.
Oh, because of the weekend effect dropping off.
Exactly. Your weekend well-being naturally drops off on Sunday evening, and Monday morning is when work-related negative affect kicks in. Nobody wants to be scrubbing a sink when they are already dreading the incoming work week.
The folks over at Clean My Space CT wrote a really interesting piece balancing the pros and cons of this deeply ingrained Saturday morning ritual. They point out that doing a massive cleaning blitz on Saturday provides a huge rush of what they call visible satisfaction.
Visible satisfaction, yeah.
You get to stand in your living room, look around, and see a perfectly reset house all at once. And for a lot of people, a long stretch of hours on Saturday is the only time they can tackle a true deep clean.
And that tracks with the data, too.
Right. The LG survey actually showed people do basic chores about 7 times a month, but they only tackle those deep cleaning tasks 5 times a month.
The trade-off, as Clean My Space CT notes, is the burnout. You get the visible satisfaction, but you pay for it with your autonomy and your energy. You have to decide if the pristine house on Saturday afternoon is worth being exhausted by Saturday night.
To keep things light, that LG study had some incredible quirky stats about our specific chore preferences. 33% of people actually love folding laundry.
Wait, love it.
They rated it as their absolute favorite chore.
I suppose it is a low-stakes repetitive task. You can sit on the couch and watch television while doing it, which softens the blow of the labor.
I suppose. But the stat that really jumped out at me was about floors. 62% of people said they would rather deal with a massive mountain of dirty dishes stacked in the sink than walk barefoot across a filthy, crumb-covered floor.
Oh, that is very relatable.
We have our limits, and apparently the sensory nightmare of crumbs sticking to the bottom of our feet is the ultimate boundary.
That sensory reaction is actually a perfect bridge into the deeper psychological and biological aspects of cleaning. We react viscerally to our environments.
Here's where it gets really interesting. We've talked about time management and schedules, but the sources dive heavily into how a messy home physically alters your brain chemistry.
Katie's cleaning service provided a fantastic breakdown of this. It all comes down to cortisol, our primary stress hormone.
The stress hormone.
Yes. When your home is highly cluttered, your brain is constantly forced to process all of those visual distractions. You might think you are ignoring the pile of mail or the shoes by the door, but your brain is subconsciously trying to categorize the items, ignore them, or plan a time to deal with them.
Wow.
Every single item out of place is a micro demand on your cognitive load.
So the brain is just constantly running background apps, draining your battery.
Precisely. This leads to a well-documented phenomenon known as decision fatigue. Your brain is burning through its energy reserves just processing the visual noise. This causes your cortisol levels to spike, making you feel anxious, tense, and physically exhausted.
That makes so much sense. That feeling of being totally paralyzed and exhausted when you stand in the doorway of a messy room isn't a character flaw. It isn't laziness. It is a biological stress response. Your brain is redlining from the visual overload.
And when you are in that state of mental fatigue, finding the motivation to start cleaning feels impossible because your brain is trying to conserve whatever energy it has left.
Right.
To combat this, Katie's cleaning service highly recommends the 5-minute rule. When you feel completely paralyzed by the mess, you make a deal with yourself. You set a timer for just 5 minutes, and you promise yourself you have full permission to stop the second it goes off.
5 minutes feels trivial. Anyone can endure 5 minutes of a task they hate.
Exactly. It tricks your brain into bypassing the decision fatigue. The biological magic happens once you start. When you complete just one tiny task, like clearing a single section of a countertop, your brain registers a win.
A chemical win.
Yes. It releases a hit of dopamine, the reward neurotransmitter, and serotonin, which stabilizes mood. That sudden chemical release instantly replaces the mental fatigue with motivation. You almost always end up cleaning past the 5-minute mark because your brain is suddenly enjoying the chemical reward of accomplishment.
You are literally hacking your own brain chemistry to get the kitchen clean.
You really are.
And our sources show you can take that even further by practicing mindful cleaning. Instead of viewing the chore as a punishment you have to rush through, you intentionally turn it into a sensory therapy session.
I love this concept.
You use warm water because the temperature is naturally soothing to the hands. You focus entirely on the physical texture of the sponge or the rhythm of sweeping the floor. You incorporate scents that actively lower stress, like lavender or citrus. You start ruminating on the email you have to send tomorrow and just ground yourself in the physical action.
It is a form of active meditation. The repetitive motions are incredibly soothing for an anxious nervous system. But the physical benefits of a clean space extend far beyond the act of cleaning itself.
Oh.
The National Sleep Foundation released a massive statistic regarding cleanliness and how our bodies rest. They found that simply taking the time to make your bed in the morning makes you 19% more likely to get a good night's sleep that evening.
Just from pulling the covers up, 19% is a massive jump in sleep quality for such a tiny action.
It is. Furthermore, studies show a direct correlation between clutter in the bedroom and insomnia. People who sleep in messy, disorganized rooms take longer to fall asleep and wake up far more frequently during the night.
That goes right back to the visual noise we talked about.
Yes. The visual chaos in the room signals to your brain the tasks are unfinished, which prevents your nervous system from fully winding down into deep sleep.
Which brings us to a major roadblock. We've been talking a lot about wiping counters, making beds, and tackling chores. But a piece from Life Made Simple Organizing pointed out a major pitfall where all of these strategies completely fall apart. People constantly confuse cleaning with organizing.
It is a vital distinction. If you don't understand the difference, the 15-minute sprints and the 5-minute rule will never work for you. Cleaners and organizers deal with two completely different dimensions of your home.
Okay, let's break that down.
Cleaners deal with surfaces. They are focused entirely on hygiene. Mopping floors, scrubbing grout, wiping down counters, sanitizing the bathroom sink. Organizers, on the other hand, deal with systems. They focus on flow, categorization, and dealing with the physical clutter itself.
This is the sweet spot. If your house is highly cluttered, if every single counter in your kitchen is covered in mail, small appliances, kids' toys, and random objects a professional cleaner, or even you trying to clean, can't actually do anything. You cannot sanitize a surface you cannot physically see.
Exactly. If you try to clean a highly cluttered room, you aren't actually cleaning. You are just shuffling piles of stress from one corner to another. Wiping down a desk that is covered in a foot of loose papers is an exercise in futility.
Right.
The sequence of operations matters. You must organize first to establish your systems. Everything needs a designated home. Only then can you clean the surfaces. Once you have established systems and hygienic surfaces, you can easily maintain both with those short weekday sprints.
So let's summarize the ultimate science-backed strategy for you. Step 1 is the hardest. You have to declutter your system so you actually have surfaces to work with. Once that baseline is set, rely on the 15-minute weekday sprint. Or use the 5-minute rule to trick your brain when you are feeling paralyzed by decision fatigue. Use those short bursts to trigger dopamine and serotonin hits throughout the week.
It changes everything.
And above all else, fiercely protect your weekend. Keep Saturday chores to an absolute minimum so you can maximize your autonomy and relatedness, giving you that massive spike in well-being that you desperately need before Monday rolls around.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the goal here isn't to live in a sterile, spotless museum where no one is allowed to touch anything.
Not at all.
The goal is to create a physical environment that actively lowers your cortisol, improves the quality of your sleep, and supports the life you actually want to live,
Right.
rather than draining your energy just to maintain it.
It is about making your home work for you, not the other way around. Now, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. All of these sources conclusively proved that visual clutter in a physical room spikes your cortisol, ruins your focus, causes decision fatigue, and literally prevents you from sleeping well. But what about our digital spaces?
Oh, wow.
We spend more time staring at our phones and computer desktops than we do staring at our living room floors. If a pile of laundry in the corner of your bedroom can ruin your sleep and stress your brain out, what is the psychological toll of an overflowing email inbox, thousands of unread push notifications, and a cluttered digital desktop doing to you? We are carrying a digital messy room in our pockets all day long.
That is a very unsettling but highly relevant question to ask ourselves as we look at how we spend our time.
Something to think about next time you reach for your phone to relax on a Saturday morning. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Take back your weekend, Try a 15-minute sprint this week, and we will catch you next time.